Lewis at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Contact at the back already as the leaders try to filter into turn one. Will Power's going to be on the point side by side, a few rows back, but a little...
Hello IndyCar and Formula One fans. Welcome to Formula Pun Racer. Today is September 1st, 2022. I'm here today to give you my review on the IndyCar race which occurred at the Worldwide Tech Raceway at Madison, Illinois outside of St. Louis back on the 20th of August, and the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa Franchorchamps which occurred on the 28th of August. Let's begin with the IndyCar round near St. Louis, and I will say, for those wondering about the Palou Ganassi Mclaren drama, it's not over yet, so Alex Palou's future is still high up in the air. But he's still committed to racing for the team with this race and the final two rounds that are to come. Let's just say it all began with Will Power of Team Penske from Australia matching Mario Andretti's record of 67 IndyCar pole positions.
Whoa.
Who would have thought the Aussie would have the willpower to match Mario Andretti's record of the most IndyCar pole positions in history? Well, he might just hop like a kangaroo over that record in due time. After all, he had the willpower to start on pole for the Gateway race ahead of Marcus Ericsson, and with his Penske teammates Josef Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin not far behind, for the most part, it was a five-way battle for the majority of the race, which was mostly under green, with the three Penske boys, Marcus Ericsson, and then occasionally the McLaren boys of Patricio Ward and Felix Rosenquist, okay, that's six drivers, would really be jostling for position. Around the 130 lap mark, Takuma Sato of Dale Coyne Racing would inherit the lead, but around 10 laps later in the lap 140 range, the first yellow flag came out when the Rahal Letterman Lanigan driver Jack Harvey got up out of the groove and slightly bent the suspension of his car as he hit the wall, so looks like Harvey's car wasn't worth jack at this point.
Burn.
Amazingly, Jack Harvey was able to limp back to the pits for repairs to his car. Unfortunately, the one who fared off the worst in the race was Rinus VeeKay of Ed Carpenter Racing when his car's dashboard went blank, or like basically the electronics went dark and he couldn't even tell how fast he was going, among other things, so he had to guess, especially when coming into the pits, and he was wrong and went over the speed limit, got penalized. Later on, the team thought they should just retire the car because the electric issue was basically considered terminal, so the Flying Dutchman had hit rock bottom, curse splat. For the majority of this 260-lap event, it seemed that the race would continue on under green for a long time. Unfortunately, by lap 214, problems would occur, and here is what would happen.
For this race that has just had two cautions, it now has a red.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's what made everything come to a stop. The race would be delayed by rain for at least 2 hours and 15 minutes before they would continue on. Well, at least this rain delay helped Jack Harvey's team get the car back together, to say the least. But by then, it would be down to the wire, with less than 40 laps to go, when the race would finally be cleared for green flag conditions. And let's find out how in a moment.
This could be a critical point of the season for one of the Championship 7. Scott McLaughlin brings his field back to green.
A nice jump from Scott McLaughlin early in the restart zone, 3 wide behind. He's going to easily lead into turn 1.
As you saw in the restart there, it was Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske who restarted the race under green with his teammate Josef Newgarden close behind. It would definitely be a battle with the top 10 drivers in the race. And, well, when all was said and done, it was amazing that eventually Josef Newgarden managed to get around Scott McLaughlin for the lead, but well, of course, Josef Newgarden might have come out to win the race in his 5th of the season, which now puts him 3 points behind points leader Will Power. So it's going to be pretty close with 2 races left in the season. So basically, those two Penske boys, Will Power and Josef Newgarden, and the 3 Ganassi drivers of Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, and Marcus Ericsson all have a contentive chance, a mathematical chance, of becoming the 2022 IndyCar champion. So let's see how this turns out. Nonetheless, though, While Josef Newgarden may have won the race and became another Goliath that the Team Penske is, the little team of Dale Coyne with its driver David Malukas of Chicago managed to finish a best career finish of second place, and he felt that if that race had gone on for at least another 5 to 7 laps, I'm sure David Malukas would have gotten around Josef Newgarden to take the win. So in any case, while congratulations Josef Newgarden for winning the race, I say David Malukas, congratulations for stealing the show and making yourself stand out in the crowd. So bravo for your second place finish, and hope you win some races in the future. So go Chicago!
Where's Marcus?
Marcus Ericsson finished 7th in the race, if you must know. Well, once again, congratulations to Dale Coyne driver David Malukas for making an impressive second place finish, right ahead of Scott McLaughlin, who came out in 3rd. So, well, Malukas is the meat in a Penske sandwich. So, Josef Newgarden, you've definitely proved once again that the Team Penske is mightier than the sword. And for all of us anti-Penske fans, we got creamed again.
It's lights out and away we go. Sainz reacts quickest. Perez comes across to cover off Fernando Alonso, who's almost on the grass, but he's ahead of Sergio Perez. Sainz goes into the first corner. Then comes Alonso. Lewis Hamilton round the outside of George Russell. Perez has lost places.
Now go get yourself some Belgian croissants and some waffles, as I now prepare to tell you my review on the Belgian Grand Prix, which occurred at the Spa Franchorchamps circuit. And it all began with Ferrari driver Carlos Sainz Jr. of Spain on pole by default, and Sergio Checo Perez of Red Bull Racing starting 2nd. And as for the championship leader Max Verstappen, who was Perez's teammate, what happened to him? Well, it turns out he and 6 other drivers incurred a starting grid penalty as a result of either changing their engine power unit or their gearbox. And here's the other 6 drivers who joined Max Verstappen practically at the back of the grid. Don't let these starting grid penalties fool you, because this year's Belgian Grand Prix, which was beautiful and sunny compared to last year's race, which was rainy and unrelenting and had no laps under green flag conditions run, a lot of unpredictability was going to occur. In fact, less than half a lap in the first lap of the race, some excitement did occur after the cars got through the hairpin corner down to the Eau Rouge chicane and up the hill. When approaching the Lombay chicane at the top of the hill, Fernando Alonso of Alpine Renault, his left front tire collided with Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes right rear, and boy, it sent Lewis Hamilton bouncy, and even though it was mostly Hamilton's fault that he was in Fernando Alonso's blind spot, Fernando Alonso had some not nice things to say about Lewis, despite the fact it was Lewis's fault. But when all was said and done, this really hard thud that Lewis Hamilton occurred caused damage to his gearbox and oil pressure leaking out, so his race was run, while Fernando Alonso was able to continue on. And here's a visual of how it all went down.
From the outside, we had a mega start, but...
Whoa! I can see my house from here!
Lewis Hamilton was not hurt in the crash, but really upset with how Fernando Alonso critiqued him in the accident, despite the fact that Lewis Hamilton took blame for the whole schlemazel. The following lap, on lap 2, Nicholas Latifi of Williams lost control coming out of one corner and tangled with Valtteri Bottas's Alfa Romeo, shown here. As a result of the Fernando Alonso-Lewis Hamilton accident, the cars behind, like Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, had to react as a result of the oil spilled all over the track that got up in their way. As a result, like Max Verstappen, who was ahead of Charles Leclerc at this point, well, nowhere near the lead at this point, had to yank his tear-off visor so he could see ahead, and he threw it out as car, as most drivers do when they tear off their visor tear-offs when they get oily or such. And unfortunately, Charles Leclerc suffered because of it, because Max's tear-off visor got caught up in Leclerc's Ferrari's right rear brake duct, which caused it to overheat, forcing him on lap 4 to come into the pits definitely ruining their Ferrari strategy once again. With Verstappen's tear-off visor getting caught up in Leclerc's brake duct, you'd think, boy, that Max was playing dirty. Well, of course Max didn't do it on purpose. He couldn't control the laws of physics in this case, and interestingly enough, despite the fact that Charles may have been upset that this kind of ruined his strategy already, by having him to come into the pits, or worse damage would have been done, he would have been retired regardless if he hadn't stopped. It turns out, though, at least Charles Leclerc's not angry at all with Max, because he thought that Max did what he had to do because there was oil in front of him, and that's instinctive for every driver, and there's just, for some reason, nowhere to throw the visor but out the car like that.
Aww.
Since some races can have unpredictable outcomes, you're probably thinking, what could possibly happen after the tangle between Alonso and Hamilton and Latifi and Bottas? Well, with Max Verstappen starting 14th, he was able to claw his way slowly but surely up the leaderboard, and by lap 12, he was able to drag race his way past teammate Sergio Perez to take the lead of the race.
All right.
You can imagine, after that drag race with Perez, Verstappen took it to the max and would not let go of the lead and would hang on to take a third race win in a row. This is his 8th season victory, and which of course cements Max's championship lead even more. With Sergio Perez finishing second, the Red Bull 1-2. This puts Sergio Perez slightly ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship, but over 90 points behind his teammate Max. With Carlos Sainz Jr. finishing a distant third for Ferrari in Belgium, well, Ferrari is now 118 points behind Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. So with 8 races left, the prancing horses got their work cut out for them if they are to round up that bull.
Our situation has not improved.
But we'll see what happens. Oh, and with today, September 1st, being Carlos Sainz Jr.'s birthday, I say, Feliz cumpleaños, Carlos. I hope you have a great birthday today, and I wish you luck in the next race, which I will mention in a minute. But for the moment, I'd like to say in other racing news in F1, I will say that Mick Schumacher of Haas, his contract is about to expire at the end of the 2022 season, like Daniel Ricciardo's is with McLaren. So both drivers are free agents, and there's no knowing at this point where they might go. So I'm sure a lot of people are still supportive of what Daniel Ricciardo and Mick Schumacher will do. Will they take a sabbatical? Could they go somewhere else in racing? I wish they both go into Indy cars, but they both seem to have their hearts set on F1 no matter what. Oscar Piastri, in fact, who I said in the last video was supposed to replace Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren, well, it turns out talks about him becoming the second driver at McLaren after Lando Norris is not all set in stone yet, as I thought. There's a lot of confusion going on, even now, regarding what's going to happen to Oscar Piastri. So, like a kangaroo, we'll just wait for a hop, skip, and a jump to it, and with any luck, we'll see if Oscar Piastri qualifies well in F1. With Sauber, the Hinwil Switzerland-based team that runs the Alfa Romeo units, well, their contractual agreement with Alfa Romeo is set to expire at the end of 2023, so there's no knowing at this point who's going to replace the Alfa Romeo name at Sauber after 2023, but there are talks that the Audi F1 name may link up with them in 2026. But as for Porsche, Audi's sister manufacturer, both under the Volkswagen Group, which is said to link up with Red Bull and AlphaTauri in 2026, it turns out like this contractual agreement or partnership that Red Bull and Porsche had mentioned earlier is not all set in stone either, just like Oscar Piastri with McLaren. So they got a lot of fat to cut around this steak to see which will Porsche do with AlphaTauri and Red Bull. All the same, until 2026 comes, Red Bull and AlphaTauri will continue to have technical connections with Honda in all but name. And with the next rounds of racing coming up, if you're wondering, where's F1 racing in next? Well, it turns out it's going to be, in Max's backyard at the Zandvoort Grand Prix circuit. Here's the time. September 4th, the Dutch Grand Prix, where things are really getting orange with the crowds like so. But at the same time, the Indy cars will be racing the same day in Portland. With 2 races left in IndyCars, it's going to be exciting. And also, just like last year when Alex Palou, who was teammates then as well as this year with Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson will, just like Scott Dixon, don PNC Bank sponsor for his car. So here's an example shown here. Yeah, it's amazing. Orange cars here, orange fans there. It's going to be an exciting week filled with orange on the east and the west. Thanks for watching my videos, everyone. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Formula Pun Racer, and hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos. Tune in to watch these races, and let's see, can Max Verstappen continue to take it to the max? Will the Penske boys of Will Power and Josef Newgarden hold off the Ganassi boys for the championship? Or can the Ganassi boys have a trick up their sleeve to show that Ganassi is a real chip off the old block? Let's find out. See you in the next video, everyone. And happy birthday, Carlos Sainz, and get felicitiert to Max Verstappen for your latest win in Belgium. I'm Aaron Cylinder, firing on all cylinders.